that's just one of the revelations about the case in an article appearing this week in Newsweek magazine. Andrew Moore is the co-author. He's joining us now live from Los Angeles. What's the major thrust of your reporting, Andrew?
Well, the piece sort of does two things. It's a profile of Garagos, but the news that you're referring to is something that was starting to be out there a week or so ago, and we developed it a little further. You remember there was something that started as a shoplifting case at the mall where the family was arrested allegedly for shoplifting. Charges were filed but dropped. And then the family sued. They sued saying that security guards at J.C. Penney and Tower Records had beaten them up, had falsely imprisoned them, etc. There was no mention of any, in the suit at least, of any sort of sexual assault. But when they were deposed, all four members of the family who were involved in this thing, father, mother, the alleged Jackson victim, and a brother, told a story in the deposition about the mom being sexually assaulted by the tower guard. The suit, the sexual allegations were never added to the suit. The suit was settled. The family got some money. But it's curious to wonder how this sort of sexual element happened. On the face of it, it's sort of odd because it's broad daylight. It's in a mall. There's allegedly a fight going on. It's hard to see how sexual assault could happen. On the other hand, there's not a very full record in the court. The depositions are not actually in the court record, so it's a little hard for us to draw too many conclusions. And it certainly doesn't say anything about the truth or untruth of the allegations against Michael Jackson directly.
You remember when the prosecutor in Santa Barbara and the sheriff came out with the announcement that they were going to arrest Michael Jackson. They said the accuser and his family, they were not going forward with any civil suits against Michael Jackson. The information you're getting seems to suggest this family may be very much interested in trying to get some money out of Michael Jackson.
Well, it's hard to tell. I mean, if I were beaten up in a parking lot by security guards and I hadn't shoplifted, I'd probably be suing myself, and that may not predict any future results of some other case. But it does say at the least that if this thing does, if charges are filed and the defense attorneys have to roll up their sleeves and get to work, that this provides a target of opportunity, no doubt about it.
Something that Mark Garagos certainly would seek to exploit. Thanks very much, Andrew Moore of Newsweek magazine, for joining us. Direct accusations against both sides in this case, the family as well as the prosecution.
You're absolutely correct, nor have I, Wolf. You know, not only does he make these allegations against officials in Santa Barbara County, but he's also stated that Michael Jackson is absolutely and unequivocally innocent of these allegations and that he intends to take no prisoners and that he will fight this case with every fiber of his being. And one of the things that jumped out to me in Garagos' statement was the fact that he said that he had been involved ever since the investigation began, which must have been back in February, which would suggest then that police seized very little, if anything, from Michael Jackson's home when they served the search warrant recently. If this is a case that is going to depend finally on the word of these victims who have already given inconsistent statements and denials that abuse ever occurred, this is going to be a very, very, very tough case for the prosecution.
And presumably the prosecution is going to have to come up, the defense, Mark Garagos in this particular case, come up with some evidence to back up the accusation that this is a shakedown, the family is simply, in his words, looking for money, and that the defense, that the prosecution, the district attorney, has an axe to grind, and that's why he's going forward with this case. Under the bar, the ethics, the legal standards in California, can a defense attorney make those kinds of accusations without some sort of hard evidence to back it up?
Well, you know, no one should make accusations like those unless they have some evidence or information to back it up. It certainly isn't an ethical violation on his part. He believes in his client's innocence, and he wants all of us to know that in his view, his client is factually innocent. You know, when I reflect on Garagos's comments and Tom Sneddon's press release, one of the things Sneddon said was that it was not uncommon for him to try cases up in Santa Maria. I looked at the complaint. The complaint is signed by Tom Sneddon and not by one of the senior prosecutors in the office. And it makes me wonder whether or not Tom Sneddon is planning to try this case. And if that's true, well, you know, he may very well support Mark Garagos's theory that this is nothing but a revenge case.
Strong words on a remarkable day. Chris Darden, our legal analyst, you'll be a busy guy over the next several weeks and months, maybe years, in fact, as these proceedings continue. Chris Darden, our CNN legal analyst, thanks very much. Mark Garagos saying categorically his client, Michael Jackson, is innocent beyond a shadow of a doubt. Michael Jackson, he says, is going to fight these charges with every fiber of his being. Much more coverage coming up.
Alleges from February 7th to March 10th. Well, guess what happened on February 7th? That's the day after the Bashir documentary aired. February 6th.
The Bashir documentary is the one from
the UK
Britain.
That airs in America on February 6th. February 7th, the DA is now alleging that the molestation occurred. It's a joke. It's nothing but, this case revolves around nothing but a financial motive, a shakedown, if you will, and it's a perfect, as I said earlier today, it's the perfect intersection between a financial motive and greed and revenge.
Chris, give our viewers your perspective on what Mark Garagos just said.
Well, you know, I've been thinking about the Michael Jackson case, and it kept me awake last night. There's a lot about this case that is very, very bothersome. Apparently, the DA in Santa Barbara County expects us to believe that Michael Jackson not only molested this kid prior to the Children's Services investigation, but while the investigation was going on, and then continued to molest this child even after that investigation. I mean, there are problems here, and unless the prosecution has substantial corroborating evidence in this case, I have to wonder whether or not they could ever convict Michael Jackson, number one, and number two, whether or not they should have brought this case in the first place.
All right, we're going to pick up that thought in just a moment. Gretchen, stand by. We're going to take a quick break. More with our legal experts coming up. About the Michael Jackson case, Mark Garagos making that very passionate defense of his client.
You know, I have to agree with Chris, because I just have to wonder why the prosecutor ever even brought these charges, unless they have something more. I mean, they have the mother of the victim who's, you know, asked for money before from this, well, actually from a sexual harassment. She has her kids out shoplifting. The father of the kids has willful cruelty to the children alleged in the divorce battle. All kinds of stuff are going on with this kid. Apparently, when he gets less money from Michael Jackson, then the parents turn on Michael Jackson and say all this stuff occurred. LA Child Protective Services goes out, does an investigation, says the charges are absolutely unfounded. The prosecutor in Santa Barbara tries to poo-poo that and say, oh, well, that's LA, they're overburdened. I used to work.
But they also said that review was done before these latest incidents, which they say they can prove, Gretchen. They say the other report in L.A. was immaterial to this.
I thought it was overlapping, because the report from L.A. is February 21st, I think, through the 27th, and the allegations are February 7th through March. So it's actually overlapping.
But they're insisting, Chris, aren't they, that these very serious 7 counts of child molestation occurred after that L.A. report was concluded?
Yeah, when you look at the timeline, apparently some of these incidents allegedly occurred after the DCS investigation was concluded. Now, I'm going to try and keep an open mind about all of this, and certainly the prosecution isn't required to to release all of its evidence at its initial press conference after filing these criminal charges. However, I'm expecting substantial corroboration of these allegations, and I think that anyone watching this case would also expect substantial corroborating evidence in this case.
You know, this is the point that I just want to pick up on, Chris. A case like this, the DAs, the prosecution, the law enforcement authorities in Santa Barbara, knowing the kind of defense they would mount, you got to believe they have some corroborating evidence, not just the word, let's say, of this boy and his mother. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense that an established DA like this Tom SNEDDON would go forward and risk his reputation, his career, just on some flimsy kind of evidence out there.